Welcome to our Binghamton University open house for the week. We've got a lot of sessions going on this whole week. You are joining us for part one of our Impact and Outcomes session. My name is Christiana Friedrichsen. I'm one of our admissions counselors, and I'm joined here today with a lot of our staff from the research side. Megan, yep. Perfect. So you can see everybody listed up here, some admissions staff, myself and my colleague Stephanie, and then Dr. Valerie Imbruce. She's from the Research Center, and Megan, as well as Caitlin and Samantha from FRI. So I just wanted to do a really quick run through of their names. We've got a lot to cover in a really short amount of time. So I'm going to hand it over to Valerie. Oh, please, if you do have questions, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And we're all going to help answer your questions during this presentation. So feel free to put them all in the Q&A function, and we'll do a live Q&A at the end. And I'll hand it over to Valerie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight on a Sunday. I'm really happy to share this information with you, and that you've all come to hear about research at Binghamton, because as you might know, as you're starting to look at schools for where you'll attend college, Binghamton is a public research university, and as of last year, we became a research university that's designated nationally in a classification that means we're the highest research activity, or what was called an R1 institution. And we're really proud of that. And we've really worked hard to increase the research profile of the university through hiring new faculty and also investing in undergraduate research. So one of the things that we feel is unique about us is that we have many wonderful opportunities for you as incoming freshmen to get involved in research, and we can support you doing research throughout your 4 years, so that as an undergraduate, you can be part of that really exciting, groundbreaking work that's being done at Binghamton. I mean, we've been so responsive to changes through the times. We have cutting edge research going on right now related to the pandemic. For example, one of our system scientists was doing models that our hospital system and our university have used to base the decision making on how to handle the virus on our campus. And so we really work hard to have undergraduates be a part of these enterprises. So as an undergrad, don't worry, you wouldn't be thrown into anything without mentorship. We consider undergraduate research to be a mentor-supported pursuit. So helping you find faculty who can help you along in your interests, or that you might develop interest around what they do. Undergraduate research is understood not only to be, exciting and fun, but a really rewarding educational experience. So the things that you want to get, the kind of skills that you want to get out of college in general, critical thinking, independent learning, building your self-confidence, building your ability to write and communicate, oral presentations, those kinds of things are all really well learned through engaging in research as a hands-on activity. So one of the things that I do is I direct the Undergraduate Research Center, which is an office on campus that's dedicated to supporting undergraduates through monetary awards. We pay students to do summer research, for example. We have awards that are like mini grants. If you have a project and you need to buy some materials, or you want to travel somewhere, you want to present your work at conferences, if you want to publish your work, we have venues for that. We have a journal just for that. And we throw a sort of annual event every year called Research Days, which undergraduates are the center of that event, presenting and talking about their research in a really fun, lively, engaging conference setting, in person or virtual, as we have learned to do over this past year. Okay. So next slide, please. Thanks. how many students do this at Binghamton? You know, out of our thousands of undergraduates, we really work hard to make research available to all kinds of students, starting in your freshman year, so it's not too early to start your first year, and up to a third of our students by the time they're seniors engage in research. And like I said, that's not, you know, something that just happens. It's something that you'll be encouraged and talked to about, and you'll be provided with the kind of resources and guidance to be able to do that. And, you know, we do just as well, if not better in many cases, than our peer institutions. So other schools that you might be looking at, undergraduates at Binghamton have a really good opportunity to do research. And it's one of these areas, it's one of these kind of high impact areas, high impact learning areas that Binghamton is invested in, like study abroad or doing internships, doing kind of working for community organizations, community engaged learning. And research actually is the most common thing that students do in their first year out of those 4 high impact learning experiences. And some of that's in part because the really excellent first year programs that we have, which you'll hear about, our freshman research immersion, and the source project, which we'll just talk about in a minute. So next slide, please. One of the signature programs that my office runs, and this is just one of many different kinds of summer research programs that that the university supports, but you might have heard me mention, you know, students get paid to do research over the summer. We see it as equivalent to a job, right? We wouldn't want students to have to choose to work for pay over the summer instead of doing research. And so, you know, in many cases, as research professionals, as faculty, you might get a fellowship, which is a monetary award to support your research pursuit. And so we treat students the very same way. And you can apply to us, create a proposal to do work, and we'll pay you $3,500 over the summer. And like I said, this is one of many programs, but if and when you do come to Binghamton, you can reach out to myself or any one of the advisors in my office to learn more about other programs at our university and national programs that any undergraduate can do to be paid over the summer to do research. And this happens in all disciplines. So one thing I really find that's common as a misconception amongst incoming students is that they think research is synonymous with the sciences, and I totally understand why. I mean, going through high school, it's very clear what science research is. You have lab sections, you're brought into the scientific method, you know, asking questions, right? Gathering evidence. But that basic process of asking questions and gathering evidence happens in any discipline. And so when we talk about research, we also talk about creative inquiry. We're talking about the fine arts as well as the performing arts, design, theater, right? Creative writing, as well as the natural sciences, the social sciences, and the humanities, history, English. We support students all across the university in so many different kinds of pursuits. Like you see these students here on this slide, you know, Zoe doing wetlands biology, kind of out there in the marshes, right? Taking samples of plants to look at plant growth and development in response to environmental changes. Larissa, who is a history student who worked with a Russian studies professor to do actually a short documentary, which she wanted to use in K through 12 classrooms to educate students before they get to college about some of the misconceptions about Russia and American relations. Biomedical engineering, we have students who are working with different cell lines to create prototypes of lungs and kidneys that can better function for intervention in clinical settings, right? And psychology is a huge program in our area where students do everything from social psych to cognitive psych, experimenting on animal models, as well as, you know, asking people questions. Okay, next slide, please. So in these kinds of projects, like I mentioned, we support students. We want you to, like I said, we treat you like researchers. We want you to get involved in this idea of, if you're doing research, it's worth paying for, and there's people out there to pay for it. And so we act as that organization. And you can see here, students across our areas: nursing, engineering, right, social science, humanities, arts, and science and math, right, filling up a large portion of the awards that we give out. And these awards might range from $200 for a semester project up to $1,000. We have a project this year that we just made these awards, and we decided to award a student who's working on a behavioral economics project in response to COVID. What is it? What are the biases involved in people wearing masks or not wearing masks? Right, and she's working on that question, and we just made an award for her to do that. So she has the statistical package on her computer, the statistical software, so she can make those analyses. Travel grants. It's hard to travel right now. We all know that, but there's virtual conferences. And when we're back to, traveling in person, we send students around the nation to present their work. These are really great resume builders, as well as just terrific experiences for students to go and present their work at conferences. You can go online to binghamton.edu and look up Alpenglow, the Binghamton University Undergraduate Journal. It's online, it's open source. It's a journal that we publish one issue every year, and includes multimedia publications, artwork, poetry, performance, musical performances, theater performances that students do, as well as research papers across the disciplines, that we have a peer review process internally. Our faculty and advanced graduate students read the work of undergraduates, give them feedback, right? So we can publish that, and you as an undergraduate can put your work out there in the world for other people to read. And this is, you might think, well, who's going to read that? But actually a lot of people read this. There's some papers that have been done on metrics of downloads of undergraduate work. And you know what? The download rates are higher and faster growing in some cases than some peer-reviewed publication in kind of professional scholarship, right? So go ahead, go check out Alpenglow and see the kind of work that they're. No, we're actually meeting with the editorial committee next week to work on this year's issue. Like I said, students present their work. So Research Days happens every April. And you see the pictures here on the right side of the slide. This is sort of what the in-person, looks like. It's a really high energy event. Hundreds of people are presenting, hundreds of people are coming through, all day on a Friday in our university union, and students are just having lots of conversation about the things that they care about and the work that they're doing in their classes. Or in their summer programs, or in the things that they're volunteering or working to do outside of their classwork, the research that they're doing. This year in April, just like we had to all kind of jump and go online. It was 3 weeks before Research Days, and we figured out how to quickly mount the whole conference online. And so you can see this poster to the left was one of my students in my course, who worked on a local issue, the toxic plume in Endicott, which is a result of industrial pollution that's happened in our area, a legacy of the computer manufacturing that's happened in our area. And, she was able to have this poster online. You can go, one of the, I think, silver linings of working virtually is that there's a lot more content online. So you can see the URL at the bottom of the screen here, sites.google.com. We use to mount the Research Days 2020 presentations, and all the student posters are up there. So you can go and look and see what our students are doing and what the outcome of their work has been. And another thing that I do in my office is work with students, me as well as my team of advisors. We work with students once they've done research, they're becoming more accomplished towards the end of their undergraduate years. They're thinking about postbac opportunities or graduate school. We work with students to apply to nationally competitive fellowships and scholarships to, earn money to go to graduate school or be paid to go abroad and continue pursuing their dreams. And so we work with students to find opportunities as well as craft really well-written applications. We work very closely one-on-one with students, guiding them through this entire process. So if you go to the next slide, you can see some example programs that Binghamton University students have been very successful in. Are Fulbright. You might have heard of Fulbright. It's a long-running program in the United States supported by the Department of State. Sends US students abroad every year to go teach English or do research in a whole host of international locations. And every year we send, at least 7 Binghamton students abroad to be Fulbrighters. And it's because they've done the work, at Binghamton. They've had the opportunities, they've taken advantage of the opportunities at Binghamton to make themselves eligible for these awards. Caitlin was a biology student who also was an education minor. She wanted to become a science teacher. And so she applied to do a Fulbright in the Netherlands, where she taught English to Dutch students. And she also did an educational research project where she was able to compare, the Netherlands system have really high science outcomes and science education attainments. And she was able to look at that to bring some of that knowledge back forward into her profession as a science teacher in the US. Rebecca Mancusi was a Goldwater winner. She was a biomedical engineering student who won the Goldwater Scholarship, which is one of the few scholarships that supports, up to $8,000 of tuition during your junior and senior years as an undergraduate. And that's a research-based award. So these are the kinds of things that you can work towards at Binghamton, and we will help you with. We have some other special programs that are supported by our federal government. Right now we have a program called the Smart Energy Scholars Program, that if you're interested in chemistry or mechanical engineering or physics, and you want to take a focus on our renewable energy or smart energy, alternative energy future, which is so important for society right now, we have a scholarship where we can offer $10,000 towards tuition. You kind of become a cohort of students, and you have some other opportunities, learning opportunities, as well as internships and research. So if this is a possibility for you, you can by all means reach out to James Pitaresi or myself after this, if this looks like something you're interested in. But these are the kind of opportunities we work for to have for our students. Okay, the next program here I want to mention to you is the McNair Scholars Program. This is another program that if and when you become a Binghamton University student, this can help you as you're applying and preparing for graduate school. So a little down the road, I know you're just thinking about undergrad right now, but many of our incoming students at Binghamton already have ambitions to go to graduate school. And so we have this program for students who have been traditionally underrepresented in graduate degree attainment, masters and PhDs, for helping apply to schools, pick out schools, preparing them with research. So a summer research program. We just launched a winter kind of high impact learning program this winter, since we have a long winter break this year. Our McNair students will be able to garner resources, so get paid to do internships as well as research, or maybe pick up a micro credential, spend a couple of weeks learning Python, or a statistical package, or systems science and modeling, something like that. So I'm going to spend the last kind of few minutes of this presentation talking about our exclusive first year research immersion program in humanities and social sciences, right? You'll hear about our scientific program in a little bit. But this source project, we're going into our 4th year already, which it seems like just yesterday we started this program. It's a 2-semester program. So as you can see in this slide, this image actually was created by, it was a graphic that was designed by a Binghamton University student to show the myriad things that that students who are doing research or creative activity. The source project, why we wanted to have something that complemented our FRI, that really inspires students to be curious and rewards them for that. So asking questions, right? Learning how to interpret data to answer those questions. These are skills that are transferable across the disciplines. Like I mentioned in the beginning, research, we just feel it, but it's also been shown through very rigorous study that it really does confer many benefits to students. So the source project courses are all topics that are impactful, that are sort of current, that are timely for the moment. And our students, engage, they often get our general education credit, oral presentation and writing. We focus on those two skills in particular. Students are always talking to one another, presenting to other audiences, as well as writing about their work in multiple kinds of forms, from research reports to abstracts to maybe policy statements, or a voter guide is something one of my students created last year. So basically what the source project is it's a fall and spring sequence of classes, 4 credits each semester. The courses themselves each semester are no different than any other 4 credits in terms of their expectations or time on task. But these are small classes, which is something that is rare within your intro level courses at a public research university. So they're small classes. You get to know your faculty instructor very well. You get to know your other students. We use these learning studios, which are really nice, like comfortable classrooms with modular furniture and all your technological needs. Our students present at research days, so that our annual conference, our first year students are presenting there, and our first year students are also publishing in different venues that we have on campus. So coming up this year, the course offerings, the research streams change slightly each year. I'm really proud and pleased to be able to offer a course on pandemics. This is taught by a historian. You'll look at pandemics in the past. You'll have a chance to work on our current pandemic. Disinformation and naivete. This is also very timely as we see a lot of mismanagement of information, a lot of myth making that's really affecting our policy making and our politics. You'll look at kind of disinformation as it kind of negatively influences international relations. History and capitalism, capitalism is a fundamental process that shapes everything that we do, right? We have a course in art history that looks at materials and how artists use them in paintings. Again, immigration, another very timely issue, and a course on environment and people and politics, which is a course that I teach, and we focus on Binghamton as our kind of case study in looking at human-environment relations. So these are active learning classrooms, student-centered. We have guest lecturers. Students participate in our research days, but also other conferences or opportunities that their faculty mentors have. We get students out of the classroom as much as we can. Even this semester, my students are doing a lot of guided field trips on their own, just to get off campus, to go into our nature preserve on campus. A couple of our classes are called community engaged learning opportunities. And, students, we kind of track our student experience pretty carefully. And students really see the difference in these classes compared to the other typical classes that they're taking in their schedule, particularly the small size becomes very personal, and building social networks and having a very supported, kind of engaged learning experience with other students where they get to know one another. Like my students typically do a group meet together, they're in contact with one another. I've been keeping in contact with my students and offering them other opportunities since they come out of my classes. So that's been a really important part of the student experience, as well as the academic experience. You know, students feeling like, wow, they're expected to do work that their professors are doing, but on their level, right? At the first, what level is appropriate for a first year student, but really seeing what it's like to be engaged as a research professional. So some of the student outcomes we've had, students have gone on at the summer after the source project to do an internship in England to work directly with refugees, where they've had bearing on refugee cases in the UK. We had a student who worked with her faculty mentor the year after the source project to mount an exhibition in our art museum on campus. And I've worked with source project students now on applying to nationally competitive scholarship programs like the Truman program, which supports students doing public service work. Okay. And I just want you to know down here we have this Ask an Ambassador, and as a prospective student, feel free to use this service if you go to binghamton.edu and look up, you know, the Undergraduate Research Center site, Student Research and Scholarship. You can see in the URL, every Monday through Thursday evening, you can directly connect with an undergraduate student who's doing research at Binghamton now. So please, if you want to talk directly one-on-one with a student, absolutely use that service. Okay, I think that is all. Yes, so Dr. Fegley, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Dr. Megan Fegley. I'm the director of our first year research immersion program here at Binghamton, and I'd just like to tell you a little bit about our program. So this is a program that is for science and engineering students, and students are getting an authentic research experience when they go through this program. They're looking at really important real-world topics and digging into those, finding out what's known in the literature, what's unknown, and what types of questions they can generate, and then go through determining what kind of experiments, instrumentation, protocols can be used to help answer those questions, and in the process discovering new information that has not yet been known. So it's very exciting types of research that students are doing. In addition to the research end of it, students are also gaining a lot of career readiness skills. So they're learning how to problem solve because in the research process, oh, I have a guest here. In the research process, there's a lot of determining what's working, and then when something's not working, trying to figure out how to solve that and move forward with the research. Students learn a lot of collaboration skills. So they are working in teams each semester of the program, and within that, working in those teams, they're learning how to become leaders, and we also focus on communication skills, both oral and written communication skills. So students are learning how to present their research through PowerPoint presentations, elevator talks, and poster sessions. So throughout the program, they get to participate in 2 poster presentations. We focus a lot too on professionalism and technical skills. So our program is a 3-semester program, which is a little bit different from the source project. The first semester is a research methods seminar. It's 2 credits. And then our second and third semesters are when students are in the lab. And one thing I like to mention to students is that this is a program that's not in addition to your degree process. It's really part of it, because each semester of the program, students are going to get those courses counted towards their degree in some way. So each one of our courses counts for some type of general education requirement. And then our second and third semester courses also count towards a student's major. And it could be a 1-for-1 swap of a course that you need to take for your major. So our first semester course, like I mentioned, is a seminar. Students are working in teams on a project, digging into the literature, finding out what's known and what's unknown, and developing a research question and then presenting on that. Then in the second semester, you get into the lab, you start learning techniques and protocols, and then developing a research proposal for the research that you'll conduct in your third semester. We have 10 different research streams right now, and they can be clustered into two main areas. So the first one is biological and health sciences. And I'm not going to go into details here because we have a lot of information on our website. But students in both the Harper Arts and Science College and also the Watson Engineering College are able to partake in our research streams. And then our second cluster is the physical and applied sciences. So these are more the engineering, environmental, chemistry, physics, those types of disciplines. And you can see that we have a lot of variety, and I encourage you to explore more about each of these streams. So each of our research streams has a dedicated laboratory. So it's only FRI students in that specific stream that are working in those laboratories. We also have research grade equipment and supplies in each of these labs, and you can see these are two of our labs. The top photo is our microbial biofilms and human health research stream lab, and then in the middle here we have our molecular and biomedical anthropology stream. And then in the bottom is our classroom. And this is, we designed it for active learning and group work. And so almost all of our FRI courses are held in this classroom. Each research stream also has a research educator. So this is the professor that works with the students in the research stream on a day-to-day basis. They teach all the courses and are mentors for the students as they're working on their research. We also have undergraduate peer mentors for each research stream. These are students who have gone through the FRI program and then become mentors for the next cohort of students. And then we also have small class sizes where we have 30 students per research stream. And then each research stream has a team of 3 to 5 faculty members that collaborate with the stream. So tonight I have two representatives from the FRI program here with me, and I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Dr. Caitlin Light, who is the research educator for the biofilm stream.
Hi, everybody. My name's Caitlin Light, and like Dr. Fagley said, I am the research educator for our microbial biofilms and human health stream, which is basically a microbiology stream. The kinds of projects that we work on in my lab and in my stream are really geared at understanding how bacteria, when they live in these microbial communities together, become more resistant to the kinds of therapies and treatments that we currently have available, and how they spread their resistance. So the better we can understand the ways they do this, the better we could apply that understanding to treatments and novel therapies to combat this growing problem that we see in our hospitals.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I am in my third and final semester of the FRI program right now, and I'm also a undergraduate peer mentor. I'm a double major in environmental science and geology, and I'm in the environmental visualization stream. And my overviewing topic has been genocide and mass atrocity prevention. So for the first 2 semesters, I was working on tracking sex trafficking within the United States. But COVID kind of messed up that project. So now I'm using satellite technology to try to track different genocides overseas. And we are specifically looking at the Rohingya Muslim related genocide happening in Myanmar currently.
All right, so I just wanted to say that's all we have for the FRI program, but I hope that you have questions because we've left time now to answer questions that you have live, and I think it's great to get the perspective from a student. So I hope that and encourage you to ask questions that Samantha can answer.
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Stephanie Swim. I work in Binghamton Admissions. I'm going to be asking all these wonderful people the questions that you may have today. Let me see if any. So my first question is just a general question for any one of you wonderful panelists. How easy is it to get involved in research at Binghamton? And is the research at Binghamton more competitively based in terms of applying to research if you're not invited initially into either the source project or the FRI program?
You want to know how competitive it is to get into research programs if you're not in one of these first year programs?
Yes, or just kind of be involved in research in general at Binghamton through the undergraduate.
So, you know, there's kind of, I think, 3 different avenues for getting involved in research if you don't come through one of our first year programs like SOURCE or FRI. And, you know, the first line in any of those 3 pathways is really coming to our office. That's why we're here. We have advising appointments that are virtual now, you know, all throughout the week. It's very easy to get an appointment. And we'll talk to you specifically about, you know, how to reach out to faculty, how to even find out about what research is happening at Binghamton so that you know where you might develop an interest or where there's something happening that meets one of your interests, and then how to get to know the people involved. So then we would advise you on which faculty, how to talk to faculty, how to find faculty, right? Other students maybe that are doing research, and we put you in touch, and so you could start doing that kind of social networking. That's one pathway. The other pathway is just understanding that research happens in the curriculum, in courses aside from SOURCE and FRI, that you might make certain choices as you're constructing your schedule of classes for the next semester that include courses that have a research component. And then finally, there are summer programs, and there are you know, summer programs at our university as well as at other universities that you might apply to, and those do get competitive. So it's best to sort of start at Binghamton through one of those first 2 pathways before you start those other pathways. But for example, you know, the FRI program has the summer research immersion program, and that's another great entry into research. And so we can help you identify those things. So, you know, if I really feel, and from what I've seen from students, that if you really want to do research, you will find a way to do it through one of those 3 pathways.
Right, that's great. Thank you so much, Valerie. All right, so we do have some questions popping up, which is great. I have one for Samantha. How did you narrow down your research? How did you narrow down on your research as an environmental student? Also, in addition to that, we do have, just to kind of add to that question, for Samantha, besides the research experience, what is the biggest benefit of participating in the FRI program or doing research early at Binghamton?
Great questions. Okay, so let me think. I'll start with the second question. So I'm not gonna lie, I was someone that was very like, I'm not gonna do research when I'm in college. Like when I went on college tours and stuff, that was never really something that I paid attention to. And then I got the invitation from Binghamton, and it was really such a great idea to end up doing it. So sorry, I'm like losing my train of thought here now. That happens to me sometimes.
The first question was, how did you narrow down your research as an environmental student?
So the way that it works is as I said before, I'm in the environmental visualization stream. So we were given, I believe I have 6 groups or 5 groups, and you have different research topics that you were given that you could choose between. So my big topic was genocide and mass atrocity prevention. There's one that has to do with harmful algal blooms. There's one that has to do with something called unexploded ordnance, it has to do with like landmines and stuff. One group has to do with like Lyme disease. So there's a whole bunch of different main topics that you were given. And then so you chose one. My group was interested in the GMAP one, genocide and mass atrocity prevention. And from them, we just kind of figured out what we were going to do. We kind of narrowed it down. It was hard. it does take some time. And then like I'm also, like I said before, I'm a UGPM, so I'm also working with first year students right now, and they're like still trying to figure out exactly what their question is. But you just kind of brainstorm, you talk to your professors, you talk to your UGPMs, and they help you out a lot.
Well, thank you so much, Samantha. You answered those so well. I have a question that I can answer. As working in admissions, the question is, what are the criteria to be qualified for the first year research immersion program? And also, this wasn't asked, but I can answer that for source as well. When you apply to Binghamton, essentially the process for this is when you apply to Binghamton, your application to Binghamton is also essentially an application to either one of these programs. So there's different things that us as admissions counselors look at in your application that might kind of be indicators that we want to recommend you to be invited into these programs. Perhaps an interest in research, some experience in research or certain STEM or social science fields that stands out to us. Maybe something on, you might have written an essay that talks about your inclination to having an interest in doing research, or just a background or a general background that we think would make you a good fit. So there's just different things that we look for when you apply to Binghamton that kind of helps us push you for a recommendation into one of those programs. Also, I think you've seen this on the chat. Christy has provided an interest form. I also provided it as well. For FRI, you can fill out an interest form on our website. That is helpful for you in terms of maybe getting you into those programs. So again, it's invitation only, but yes, there's definitely different things that we look at on the application that helps us kind of push you in that direction. All right, let me see if there's anything else here. I have a question actually for both Valerie and Megan, or whoever else would be happy to answer it. What are some FRI projects for Megan maybe that stand out to you that you've seen in the last, recently or throughout the years that stood out to you? What are a project that you thought was really exceptional, and then same for Valerie in terms of source?
Sure. So one of the projects that students and this is just the first one that's coming to my mind because we've got so many different projects going on, but students in the environmental visualization stream, we're doing a project on detecting plastic landmines, and it was a project that they submitted to National Geographic, and they ended up being runner-up on that, and they've been able to publish that research. But it's really important research because there's a lot of these plastic landmines that have been left behind after different wars in different countries, and they're very dangerous, and there's not an easy way to detect them because they are plastic. And so they've been using geospatial remote sensing to detect those landmines.
Oh, that's great. And Valerie, do you have something that stands out for you in terms of source?
And just to build on the project that Megan picked, because this shows the compatibility between the Undergraduate Research Center and FRI, or like an exemplar pathway that two of those students on that team that were looking at detection of plastic landmines, we worked with after the FRI. One of those students applied to the National Science Foundation's Graduate Research Fellowship, which we helped him with that application, which he received. He wound up receiving our Provost Award for Undergraduate Research and going to Yale for his PhD work. And the other student also applied to the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship and won that fellowship, which is a very prestigious award to go to graduate school, and he's going to Columbia this year. So really exemplar students. In the source project, we have such a diverse array of students, but one of the students I got to know last year in the Human Nature project, where they looked at big questions of gender and race, a student who was working on gender discrimination, who wound up doing a survey with people who identify as asexual, but really, and so got all of these data from people and their views on current topics on gender pronouns and what their gender means to them, but also looked up some of the history of gender discrimination as asexuality used to be seen as a medical disorder, right? And sort of charting the cultural change around some of these ideas, and then the policies and kind of attitudes that people have around them. A student the students in my class last year, environment, people, and politics, did such kind of unique first-person research in our area in Binghamton. I mean, often small towns or middle-sized cities like ours don't have people on the ground doing ethnographic research. And so we're working on a publication for our undergraduate journal based on that student's work that we hope will come out in spring. We're working on that now. And so as a class, although each student's research were separate, looking at the toxic plume that I showed you, looking at incarceration, looking at housing security in Binghamton, education, will come together to form like a fuller picture of what life in our area is like.
Wow, that's great. And Caitlin, do you have any input on, just from your specific stream and area that you can speak of?
With regards to like standout topics?
Yes, or just certain projects that you found interesting.
So one thing that's kind of important to note is that all of these different research streams and science disciplines in general move at very different paces. So with my stream, we've been working for almost 3 years now as 3 different cohorts of FRI students and 2 different cohorts of our summer research immersion students. And we finally have a paper in publication or in peer review right now on its second round. So that's really exciting for our stream and for our kind of biomedical research streams where things can take quite a bit longer and needing to be a lot more in depth and rigorous with just the meticulous level of details that you need. So that's very exciting for us, and I think for those kinds of streams. And it speaks to the collaborative nature of our program and the fact that we can kind of keep a research project running for almost 2.5 or 3 years now. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow, thank you so much, Caitlin. I do have another question. I'm going to give this one to Samantha because it kind of provides more of a student perspective. I would say, so Samantha, how approachable did you think, generally at Binghamton from your experience, were professors more approachable in terms of, in terms of accessing research with them or kind of doing research projects with them, an individual study, if you will. And, if not, or if you experience that they were or weren't, in addition, are there other resources that you can kind of take advantage of if you're having a difficult time finding a mentor in that way?
Mm-hmm. So the only research that I participated in so far has been through the FRI program. I haven't done anything else yet. I do have friends that have, though, and I've never heard any complaints about stuff like that. I think that, honestly, the professors at Binghamton, are a really, nice group of people, and I really like them all. I haven't had any ones that I really didn't like yet. And they all really are very willing to help, even when it comes to, going to office hours and stuff, aside from the research stuff. But the professor that I've been working with for the past 1.5 years is the most amazing person. I love him. He's been so great. He's been really helpful. He's been, he doesn't tell us the answers to everything, but he does definitely like I was saying before, I had to start my project over, which is super unfortunate, but we had to do it because of COVID. And he was talking to us the other day, and he was like, I'm expecting really big things from this. I really believe in you guys. And so that's really nice to hear. So yeah, that's what I would say in response to that question.
Yeah, and if I could add to that as well, I think that that is something that you can hear very oftentimes with large R1 research institutions, but I think that that is the reason that the SOURCE project and our FRI are here, because it really provides a great opportunity in your first year to really find that mentor that Samantha was talking about. You get to work with a professor like myself for 3 semesters in a row, really build that relationship, learn how to network and navigate the research landscape on campus, feel more confident approaching those professors. These kind of programs are a really, really great opportunity to make sure you never kind of experience anything like that. While I don't believe that that's majority on our campus, it's always something that you can experience. But like I said, having that mentor that you can go to, coming through one of these programs is a super invaluable resource for you guys to have in being comfortable on campus.
Yeah, so I'll just jump in a little bit on that and just add to what Caitlin was saying. So the research educators that work for the FRI program, that is their sole responsibility, is to work with the FRI program, and they're really unique positions that combine both research and teaching. So the individuals that are in these types of positions are interested in both teaching and research. So I think they're really amazing mentors because they see both sides and the importance for both sides. And so and then in addition to that, we have teams of faculty that are collaborating with these streams. So you can see that the faculty on campus really want to be part of and see young undergraduates doing research on campus.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, I have another question here. Might be our last one tonight, unless you guys want to shoot us a couple more. So how many students each year for a first-year class are generally invited into FRI? And then for Valerie, how many are invited into Source?
Okay, well, we'll have our 6 research streams that accommodate 25 students each. So that's 150 students. We have placements to enroll. Many more invitations than that go out, and the admissions team knows that better than anyone else. That many more are invited, and I just met with the director of admissions last week actually to talk about our recruiting and how we invite students. And we really look, holistically across the admissions pool on measures of what are your interests? How much have you challenged yourself in high school? And, so you can receive an invitation that way. And we look very broadly at different measures. We want to be as inclusive as possible for all kinds of students. But you could also submit your interest. And, since Source Project is still, relatively new and our streams are new, I found that students who express their interest through the interest form on our website, we look at everything, and often those students have a really good chance at being invited. So I think if it's something you're really passionate about, your best bet is to reach out, fill out that interest form, get in touch, and you'll at least have a conversation, if not an invitation.
And I can just add, very similar to what Valerie was saying, the only difference is that with FRI, we have 10 research streams, so we're able to enroll 300 new students every year.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so it looks like that's it for questions. Thank you guys so much for coming. Make sure you do one last look at that chat at the bottom of the screen. We've got, Christy's provided some really great links for you in terms of contacts, learning more about both FRI and Source. She gave the links to both those sites. Also information on reaching out to us in admissions, our visit page. She will be sharing with you hopefully now. Our visit page has a lot of different different offerings, virtual offerings this year, in addition to these wonderful open house sessions this week. You can view some webinars both on FRI and Source that are previously recorded sessions, as well as other undergraduate research opportunities at Binghamton, and among other great information, all Binghamton related. So definitely check out the admissions homepage or visit page. Check out the links, copy and paste them, and thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Samantha, for being such wonderful panelists and giving our students such great information going forward. Bye, everybody. Have a great night. Take care.